Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. So glad that all of you could join today for an important discussion with Arizona caregivers and advocates for paid family and medical leave. Before we get started, I want to acknowledge that what we're facing right now is unlike anything we've ever experienced as a country, at least not in the last century. We're in a public health crisis and an economic crisis. And both of those things have been made worse by a crisis of leadership. As we live through this pandemic, a lot of issues in our economy and in our society have been highlighted. For one, this pandemic has shown the importance of paid leave as a major family and public health issue. And this crisis it's been particularly hard on caregivers, whether it's a parent who has lost their job and has to put food on the table for their kids, or someone caring for a senior who needs medical attention and is at increased risk because of the virus. This has been a tough and stressful time for a lot of folks, most of us, but especially for caregivers. And it doesn't help that Washington has failed to give Arizonans the support they need right now. Additional coronavirus relief has been stalled for months. And the Senate, well, they want a vacation rather than figure out a compromise. This is how the broken system in Washington hurts Arizonans. I think it's worth recognizing, too, that the US is the only industrialized nation on the planet that does not have a federal paid family leave policy. We're the only one. But Washington is too focused on politics to pass bills that would help Arizonans. Anyone at any time can experience a serious illness or need to take care of a family member who is suffering from one. And the people who are most likely to assume responsibility for taking care of a family member are the people who can often least afford it: women, people of color, and low-wage workers. I know I've kind of been there. Both of my parents, they fought cancer late in life. And then in 2011, our entire life was flipped upside down when Gabby was injured. And I had to be her advocate through her recovery and then through rehabilitation. And caring for a family member should not mean that you have to put your job on the line. It can happen to anyone at any time. And we need to celebrate caregivers. If we're going to build a stronger economy for all Arizonans, then we need laws that value families and that put Arizona families first. And we need leaders who are willing to work across the aisle to get things done. To me, paid family leave should not be a partisan issue. This is about protecting Arizonans and building an economy that works for everyone. This should be an opportunity to build a stronger future and ensure that everyone in our communities have the resources they need when they find themselves with this added responsibility of caring for a loved one. Now let's get started with our conversation. We'll have our panelists introduce themselves. We're going to start off with Katie, and then we'll go to Juanita and then Ashley. So why don't we start with Katie? Introduce yourself and a little bit about your background.
Hi. Boy, it's a real honor to be here with you, Mark Kelly. This is such an important issue, such an important time to be talking about the need for families to be able to take care of each other. And I'm so inspired by the way that you've been able to take your own personal experience and make that a part of the drive behind your policymaking. I think that bodes very well for your leadership. My name is Katie Bethel. I'm the founder and executive director of Plus Action. We're fighting for paid family and medical leave for everyone in the US. We'll help literally every family in the country. And it's a hard time in America, but it's also a really inspiring time to be working on this issue that could have such a direct and positive impact on every single family during this crisis. So thank you so much for hosting this conversation.
Thank you, Katie. Juanita.
My name is Juanita Lee. I'm 78 years old. I was born and raised on the Navajo Nation. And I am the caregiver for my husband. He is 80 years old.
And we'll get to him in a second here. I'm interested in hearing how he's doing. Luther, good to see you as well. Thank you for joining. And then let's go over to Ashley for a second.
Hi, my name is Ashley Bridwell. I am a social worker and program coordinator for Barrow Neurological Institute. I've been working in neuro rehab for 17 years and privileged to be a part of so many families' journeys through the family caregiver system. And like you said, lives being turned upside down in a moment's notice, to where family really has to rise to the occasion to take care of their people. And I'm also privileged to tell you that I'm a Flynn Brown Fellow, class of 2019, Civic Fellowship to learn about public policy. So I have that boots on the ground perspective in terms of having family members right in front of my face. And I also have spent a lot of time learning about how public policy can be an impact on bettering people's day-to-day lives. I'm also a brain tumor disease survivor of 21 years and have what I like to call the inside-outside perspective that makes me an expert in this department.
So you may have had to go through a little neuro rehab yourself, and now you're working in neuro rehab.
I just turned the worst thing that ever happened to me into something better, into something positive for the people that come through my doors. And I'm incredibly grateful to have an opportunity to work in this arena and share my own experience and strength with others.
Well, thank you, Ashley. I've got a couple questions for you in a minute, but I want to go back to Katie for a second. So Katie, what are you and your colleagues hearing from Arizonans on caregiving and paid family and medical leave, especially during what we're facing right now, this pandemic?
Arizonans have a lot to say about paid family leave and specifically the need for this policy, both as a part of coronavirus response and economic recovery and helping every family weather through it, but also even before the pandemic. The lack of paid family leave was hurting Arizona's families every day. One thing that might shock folks to hear is that in this country today, 1 out of every 4 people who give birth are back at work within 10 days of giving birth. So this pandemic is really shining a bright light on a problem that has existed in this country for a long time.
Katie, I hate to interrupt you here, but do you know, in other industrialized nations, what is that average? If it's 10 days here, what is it in other Western countries?
Oh, yeah. So in the statistic on which countries have paid family leave, when you look just at maternity leave, there's actually only 2 countries in the world that don't have guaranteed paid maternity leave for new moms, the US and Papua New Guinea. So it's not even just industrialized countries, it's all the countries. And the UN minimum requirement for meeting sort of basic human rights standards in supporting maternal health is 14 weeks of time. That's what the UN says every country should do in order to support, people pushing babies out of their bodies and ensuring that we have a human race for the future. So we're very, very, very below the standard set internationally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, that's surprising. I did not know that we were only one of 2 countries on the planet that don't have paid family leave for new mothers.
Yeah. And it has big implications. The family leave part, which I know we're going to focus on a lot today, has a lot of really important implications in coronavirus. An organization just did some conversations with just regular folks working in day-to-day jobs and asked them about how paid family leave is impacting their choices during coronavirus. And over half of those working people said, you know what, I don't even want to get a COVID test because if the result comes back positive, I can't afford to miss work. So there's this big gap that has much broader implications for our public health than just that time. And it has big implications for our economy too. 75% of those people said, I would be much more excited to go to a restaurant or go shopping if I knew that those businesses had paid leave for their employees, because then I feel safe that employees who are sick are staying home. So we have this whole cluster of issue around this simple idea that when you need to care for someone or someone needs to care for you because you're ill, you deserve to not get stuck in debt. You deserve to be able to continue to be able to pay your bills to fight that illness and to get through those challenges. And that's something that should be a right for everyone in this country.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. I want to go over to Juanita for a second here. First of all, Juanita, I want to hear how your husband's doing. And then, as a caregiver, somebody who is, doing this probably 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Can you tell us a little bit about what that experience has been like for you?
My husband was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 18 years ago. And since then, my children and we have been taking him to Phoenix to be seen by specialists, which is about 300 miles away from where we live. Through the dirt roads, through the rocky roads, we have to travel until we hit the highway or a paved road somewhere. And we live in a remote area too, where it's hard to get 911. We don't have that in our area. So it's hard to get a doctor if he should get sick, fall, or if he needs medical attention. So we've been going to Phoenix every 3 months to be seen by the specialist at the Muhammad Ali Parkinson Center. He's got a specialist up there that he goes sees, but that's every 3 months. And my children had to take turn taking us because I cannot drive in a big city. So they have to take time off from work to do this. And they use their own money to buy gas, to buy food, for lodging. And this one gets expensive. It gets a lot, off them too. And they have families of their own to support, and they have to include us in there. And it is hard. I'm taking care of him 24/7, day and night. I have to get up in the middle of the night to tend to him and give him what he needs. And it seems like he's going down. He's getting a little by little. He's going down. He's homebound right now. So that's what I have, and it's hard. It's hard for me because I'm at the age where I'll be needing a caregiver myself. So in 2015, I applied for in-home care service with the Navajo Nation social service, and was denied because of our combined income exceeding the income of 2,000 to qualify for access. We didn't qualify for access. They do have home care, but you have to qualify. You have to make below 2,000 to get on that program. For us, we couldn't do it because we were a little over 2,000. Even $1 over, we can't get on. So because of our combined income from our pension and Social Security, we do not qualify for Medicare. Oh, Medicaid, not Medicare. We are on Medicare, but Medicaid. And that long-term care system, Arizona long-term care system, we don't qualify for that. And we looked into my husband's Medicare benefits and found out that it does include home service, home health care, but we must follow certain credentials. We must use skilled certified and skilled nurse and have a need for others, physical, occupational, or speech therapy, which my husband gets at Winslow Indian Health Service.
Mhm.
It is difficult to find certified and skilled nurse on the reservation. And we also must have a doctor's order referral to get on this Medicare in-home care service.
And I understand, Juanita, that Medicare doesn't pay for in-home care for a very long period of time. It's a rather short. So when you need long-term care, that isn't available under Medicare. So let me ask you this: what is the thing that you think, if you have an idea that Congress could do that would help you the most?
We would like to have a home health agency established on the Navajo reservation, so that Navajo people who have Medicare can access home health care. Because they do have that home health care, but it's only if you live in Flagstaff or Page, and we're out of that service area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it's the travel issues are significant, and especially on the rural roads that aren't paved, and but I really appreciate that. Thank you, Juanita. I want to go to Ashley for a second. So Ashley, so I know that you work at Barrow, great rehab hospital. I know a little bit about it. And you work with some survivors of domestic violence who had traumatic brain injuries, and you've been an advocate for a better caregiving system. So what are you hearing from the folks that you're working with? What are you hearing about this issue, and what would they like, and what could be helpful for them from Congress in regards to caregiving?
Thank you so much for including me in this conversation, because as I'm sitting here listening, this is a story I hear a lot from family members that was just shared in terms of they've tried to access attendant care benefits through Medicare and attendant care and home health, and we're kind of getting into the weeds around definitions, but attendant care is a non-skilled caregiving service. So when we talk about home health care and that Medicare covers home health care, she's right. It's with the prescription of a doctor, and it has to be a certified skill provider. What a lot of the family caregivers that I work with would like to see happen is for Medicare to start including attendant care or companion care as part of the Medicare approved benefits, so that, for example, if somebody just needs some help with getting in and out of the shower and maybe having their breakfast made and maybe just getting set up for the day so that the family can care for them once they're dressed and kind of up in bed, kind of a caregiver to come in and do the heavy lifting. That is something that's really just a huge gaping hole in the services that Medicare provides. And to boot, when we talk about Medicaid or the long-term care program that we were just kind of talking about, one of the things that is really preventing a lot of family members from being paid to care for their family member at home is the amount of income that you have to make. You have to have below $2,000 in resources and have, I think, less than around $1,900 in monthly income, which prevents a lot of people from qualifying from a program that would then pay a family member to actually care to keep the disabled family member or sick family member in the home. And we know, looking at just the fiscal part of it, that it costs less money to keep somebody in their home versus institutionalizing them and having them be in nursing facilities. And we also know that people have a much better quality of life when they get to stay at home and they get to be with family members. And I can tell you from the neuro rehab perspective, and especially when we're talking about the silver tsunami that's coming up with our baby boomers now aging into Medicare, that one of the top neurological impairments that happen in that population is stroke. And we're going to start seeing a lot of, I mean, it sounds really morbid to talk about, but we're going to see a huge increase in the numbers of people, you know, reaching, you know, 65, 70 years old that are having strokes that are going to need family caregivers. And if we had some kind of, if we had a better system, or a system that we currently have maybe on steroids to help keep these family members together and in the care and the quality of the home, while a paid family member can make a living and be able to support their own family, as far as looking at the sandwich generation, right? Where we're starting to see people take care of their children and their parents. From a moral perspective, that's the right thing to do, is to take care of our parents and our family members. And we know it saves us money, and we know that it's a better quality of life, and we know that people are more independent, and it's just like better for everybody all around. So the idea of creating a more comprehensive long-term care system, where maybe we increase the income limitations for people so more people can qualify for the program, where they get attendant care, companion care, and a family member can get paid to provide that care, would be huge. And we would also see the cost in institutionalization and the need for institutions decrease significantly, which at the end of the day, we save money and people are having better lives and better quality of lives. And as far as the domestic violence question that you asked me, sir, is as a result of COVID and the coronavirus, we are seeing a significant uptick in the cases of domestic violence and the severity of the violence that's occurring. When we talk about quarantining and people being isolated in their homes, and then we've got unemployment on the rise, and you know, all of kind of these psychosocial factors that compound people's risk factors for violence are going up and up and up and up. And when we're not supporting family caregivers, people are losing jobs over trying to get family members to doctor's appointments. And people are having to make choices between, do I help my family member out of this really sticky predicament, or do I keep my job? Which it makes a great case for the family paid caregiver program. And then the last thing I want to mention is there was a legislative bill in the state of Arizona that did not pass, but it was brilliant. It was for families making $75,000 or less to be able to have a $1,000 tax credit that were participating in family caregiving in their home, because just like we just heard, it gets expensive with the gas and missed work and, you know, different types of equipment that Medicare doesn't cover, like, for example, shower chairs and tub transfer equipment. You know, nothing in the bathroom. It's the most dangerous room in the house. So I feel like this is an important issue for the whole lifespan, not just for elderly, but for also for people with disabilities.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very good point. I've seen also, you know, federally, there's been, you know, folks advocating for a $3,000 federal tax credit for informal caregivers.
That sounds great. Let's do that.
Make a lot of sense. Katie, how many folks in Arizona are informal caregivers? Is there an estimate?
Ooh, I don't know that number off the top of my head, but I do know that before coronavirus, about 2/3, 65% of Arizonans had taken unpaid leave in order to provide care. So it's a huge number of families in Arizona that are facing this exact problem that we're talking about, and the whole constellation of problems that we're talking about. I mean, one thing that we haven't touched on is childcare as a sort of part of that sort of beginning of life to end of life continuum, where at every single stage, you need to have family who can provide care without risking their livelihoods. And we need to be building policy that allows families to do that, to plan, to be ready.
Yeah, no, I understand. Juanita, you mentioned a home health agency established on the Navajo Nation. And you said, I think you said there was one maybe in Winslow or somewhere near. How far away do you have to go to reach a home health agency currently?
Yes, there's one in Flagstaff, which is about 100 miles away. And then there's one in Page, which is about Page, Arizona. It's about 150 something miles away. Those are the only place where they have that home health care.
But do they have anything to do with the Indian Health Services? Or is it a private organization or a state organization? What I'm curious about is, does IHS have anything like a home healthcare agency?
It has to do with the federal. There's some. I think there might be some Navajos that are on there, that are living in the area. Those are just the ones that are living in the area. Those are the only ones that qualifies for that home care.
Mm-hmm.
But if we live outside, that's what we were told when we applied for it. We were told that we were outside Flagstaff and Page area, and we didn't qualify for it.
Because of where you were living?
Because of where we're living, yes.
All right, that's important to know. Thank you. Hey, Ashley, if there was one thing, if you could pick one thing for Congress to do on this regarding caregiving, what would it be?
I just one thing. It's like top three. Come on.
Top three. Count three.
No, it's so I think that seeing the family caregiver program, as far as a family caregiver being able to apply for a benefit, much like people with disabilities apply for Social Security disability, to be able to pay their bills for the time that they are needed to be at home to care for a family member, I think is just key. It is such a difficult decision when I have a family, a really loving, caring family in front of me that, they've taken as much time as they can, and they've taken their PTO or their vacation time or their own sick time to care for a family member. And it's not so much about whether or not their job is going to be held for them, but it's about that they literally are out of paid leave to be able to stay home. And it's really, it's a difficult situation, even from a provider standpoint, to watch, even like in your example, a husband caring for his wife, or a mother caring for an adult son. And with violence, we see ages from 0 up. So the idea that as a nation that we could be accountable and responsible for family members that want to do what feels right and what feels organic and natural as far as we take care of our people, I would love to see a program created to support that, and to keep people out of institutions, and to keep people out of nursing facilities, and to keep people out of environments that they don't really need or have to belong in. It's better for everybody all around. And so I would say that would be one of the primary goals for some government involvement. And then number 2, I'm just going to sneak in number 2. I would love to see on the long-term care perspective for us to have a little more leeway with monthly incomes for family members to qualify for some of the long-term care programming related to having a family member be certified and provide paid care for a sick or disabled individual in the home. You know, and it's, you know, having $2,000 in the bank and $1,900 a month is, you know, you have to be really at the far end of that socioeconomic scale. And so I would love to see some movement around expanding that program.
Yeah, that would help Juanita in her situation with her husband.
Yes, absolutely. Because some of her children then could become certified caregivers through an agency in Maricopa County and then be paid for a certain amount of numbers each week to help provide care in the home. And so maybe they, you know, if there's 3 kids, you split it up 3 ways. Everybody does 10 hours and comes over and does dad's shower. I mean, this is, you know, we're looking at the day-to-day stuff. It's getting somebody in and out of the shower. It's getting somebody in and out of bed, you know, and these are quality of life things. And from a mood perspective, everybody feels better. There's less depression. There's less rehospitalization. There's less tax on our more expensive resources when we take care of people in the home.
Yep. Well, thank you for that. Katie, how about you? Just real quick, because we're kind of running out of time here a little bit, but I'm curious from you if there was one thing. I think I know what the answer is.
I mean, I think if we're talking about big dreams, big moonshot, I see a lot of hope in the idea of a real leadership on the idea of the care economy. And I just actually got some of the numbers in Arizona. So in 2013, family caregivers provided 749 million hours of care. That adds an estimated $9.4 billion to the economy in terms of care that families provided that didn't need to be provided in other ways, and the lower healthcare costs, exactly as Ashley was outlining, when you're able to keep people in their homes and in their area of comfort. As far as a policy prescription that I think we can get done in the next year, especially with you in office, Mark Kelly, is a national paid family and medical leave policy. This is a program that exists in 8 states today. It's a simple social insurance, just like Social Security or unemployment. It would be available to every family. When you have a moment when you need to take leave to take care of someone in your family, to welcome a new child to your family, or to recover from your own serious illness. And this also includes time to recover from or escape from domestic violence situations. This also includes time for military families. So it's a big inclusive policy that can make sure that people get the income they need when life hits them upside the head and they got to take care of each other. And it's so humane. That's what I would do on day one of a new administration, because we already know it works. We already have the policy tools in place, and we could be helping families right away.
Yep. Well, thank you. And Juanita, I think, from what you said earlier, that the income cap on long-term, the limit there on long-term care system, through access is something that you deal with every day in order to qualify. And Ashley pointed out that if there was a little bit of an adjustment there, that would help folks in your situation. So, that is something that Congress should continue to look at. And I will, if elected to the U.S. Senate. So I want to thank everybody. It was great seeing all of you, Juanita and Luther, Katie, Ashley. Thanks for taking the time to join here today. I know it's not a lot of time, but this is really important. It's also very, it's very helpful for me. This whole process, the last 18 months, a lot of it is learning more about these issues. This is an issue in particular I do know something about from personal experience. It's also clear, I think, that we owe our caregivers something better when it comes to being able to protect their own jobs and ensuring their own financial stability. And hearing the challenges that Juanita is facing and Ashley and Katie, the folks that you work with, these remind me of why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. And if I have the honor of being elected, I'm going to work to try to expand paid family leave and offer tax relief for informal caregivers, making sure that Arizonans have the resources that they need to take care of their families and also to continue to play a vital role in our economy. And as we continue facing this current health and economic crisis, I'll work to slow the spread of this virus that has impacted Arizona's communities, especially our seniors. And the way I'm going to do that is by making decisions based on science and data and facts and not politics. So thank you, everybody, for joining, and everybody who's watching, thank you so much for joining us, and hope to see everybody in person at some point. And stay safe, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much.